Okay, for this one, we're going to start off with simple variable rules. So there's some simple variables. X3 times X7. What do you do in these? You add them. X10 over X4. In this case, you subtract them. So X6. Guys in the back, be quiet. Yeah, go. Guys in the back, be quiet. So, when you multiply, you add. When you divide, you subtract. When you raise a power to a power, you multiply. So, x to the third to the fourth power is x to the 12th. Okay? If you have multiple things going on, you do it based off the base form. So, let's say you had 12, x to the 5th, y to the 10th, over 18, x to the 3rd, y to the 12th. In this case, so what we're going to do is here we do each part individually. So 12 and 18 is its own section, so that reduces to 2 over 3. Then x to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd, that's subtraction. So 5 minus 3 is x to the 2nd. And then it's this one, y10 minus y12. That's y equals negative 2. I don't like negative exponents. You cannot simplify with a negative exponent. So what I'm going to do is rewrite it as y2 on the bottom. Another way you could think about it is that there's 2 extra on the bottom compared to the top. If it's on the top, it'll be y negative 2. That's not good. So you got to...
The thing is 10 minus 12, which is negative 2. So why wouldn't you move it up to the top?
No. It's y to the negative 2, which then I would move it down to become...
I thought that if like the exponent's smaller on whatever side, the bigger exponent gets bigger, keep it or something.
So it keeps it, yeah.
But it would be negative 2.
No, it wouldn't. So if it's going to be negative, it's going to be negative on top, okay? If you're subtracting.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. G to the 10th to the 0 power. It's recorded. You could just look at it later. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Make sure it's 1 and not 0. It's 1. P to the 5th power, Q to the 3rd power, all to the negative 2nd power. So in this case, I'm going to distribute the negative 2 to everything. So P to the negative 10, Q to the negative 6. Then since this one's negative, it moves down. And since this one's negative, it moves down.
So it's just 1 over P to the 10th and P to the 5th?
Yeah, 6, but yes.
Oh, sorry, I meant that. Oh my god, are these like the easiest problems?
I mean, I'm just going in order, which usually we start off easy and then go harder.
I need someone to remind me.
Anything to the 0 power is 1. I don't care if it's a billion, it's still 1.
Do you guys know that tomorrow we have a half day?
G to the 3rd, Y to the 11,
I can never hurt your feelings.
X to the 15, G to the 10, Y to the negative 3, X to the negative 15. Guys, be quiet once more. Shh. Hey. Cheryl. Guys. So next one. This is multiplying. You're not distributing. People make the mistake of thinking you distribute G to G, G to Y, G to the X. This is all one term because they're all multiplied to each other. So in this case, you're just adding exponents. So G 13, Y to the 8. Now x 15 times x negative 15 is x to the 0. X to the 0 equals 1. 1 times anything is itself. So you could just leave it like that.
Are you filming? He's recording, bro.
Yeah.
We didn't put plus or minus though.
I don't know what you mean. There's no plus minus here.
Wait, why can't I put an
I know there is no plus or minus on purpose. I'll talk about plus or minus soon.
If it's 1, why can't I put X? Because no exponent. Shut up, what?
You could put the number 1, but you can't put x. X disappears. X to the 0 power is just the number 1. Yeah. I'm moving to the next page. Yeah. Hey, guys in the back, stop talking. Girls, you too. Shh. Next one. 7x squared plus 10x minus 11 plus negative 3x squared plus 4x minus 1.
4x squared plus 14x squared minus.
What's the difference?
This has a plus sign in the middle.
No, I'm saying what is the difference? Still add.
So you add these. So negative 7 goes with x squared. So 4x squared.
Plus 14x.
This goes with this. So 10 plus 4, 14x. And this one goes with this one because they're just plain numbers. Negative 11 plus negative 1, negative 12.
Wait, could you go back?
No.
Because you added them also.
Because those are exponents, Cheryl. So when you multiply exponents, you add them. But we were technically multiplying the whole time.
Was that your answer? There's a second one.
So next one. 5x to the second plus 15 minus 3x plus 10. In this one, what we're going to do, first one is 5x squared. There's nothing else that matches with it. So it stays 5x squared. I'll do 3x first. So 3x here has nothing in common. So it's 0 minus 3x. So this should become a negative 3x. And then 15 plus 10, or 15 minus positive 10, is going to be plus 5.
So the negative distributes it from the level.
If this is all the tests.
It distributes to the right.
Stop.
It distributes to the right if you want to.
It gets harder. I don't know. I like both. I paid a whole $1 and I'm poor, so that's a lot of money.
I haven't. You can tell us we have $3.90.
What do you mean?
Really hard.
You don't get no Starbucks
Some
no
of the
more.
difference of the key. Okay, that's
When I get there, I'll get there. Next one.
Starbucks like $6.
So I mean, so
Stop talking, please. Next one. X plus 3. X squared plus 6x minus 11. In this one, we're multiplying. So when you're multiplying, guys in the back, stop talking. When we multiplying, you distribute to everything. So x goes to x squared, x goes to 6x, x goes to negative 11. Also, 3 goes to x squared, 3 goes to 6x, 3 goes to negative 11.
Wait, is that because there's no exponent in the first one?
I was gonna say what's
The other one has exponent, but you don't.
No, the reason we do it like this is because there's pluses in between. So that means you have to do them separately. So in this one, x to the third plus 6x squared minus 11x
There's 3x squared
plus 3x squared plus 18x minus 33. Remember to combine like terms, simplifying is important.
I just thought them up, then I can just add them.
Exactly. X cubed. Okay, nothing there, so x cubed. 6x squared with 3x squared is 9x squared. Negative 11, positive 18, plus 7x. Negative 33, nobody's there, negative 33. Okay. So that's the first half of the test. That's all the multiplying and simplifying, we'll call it. The second part of the test is factoring. So that's the reverse. Sorry, you have a question?
What's the difference between this one and the one earlier where it was just parentheses?
Okay, so because this one, you're talking about,
The G.
yes, this one. This one, there is no plus or minus in between these things. So it's all one term. Even though it looks like it's really busy, it's all one term. So it's basically I'm multiplying this with this, which means I just add the exponents. While here, I have the plus sign here. It's not 3x, it's 3 plus x. So I have to do them separately. All right. Now, that was simplifying. We're going to factoring. There's multiple ways to factor. Basic way to factor is to take out the GCF. 21, x to the 10, y to the third, minus 14, x to the 6, y to the 5. So you have to figure out what's in common between everything. So first let's look at the normal numbers. 7. Let's look at the next number. x10 and x6. What's in common in between them? The left side has 10 x's. The right side has 6 x's. So in common, they have 6 x's. So x6. They have in common 6 x's.
What?
Here,
You can
Oh, so
remove.
it'd be 3y.
Oh, you can remove 6 x's. from
Take the
each one.
maximum you can.
So it'd be 3y.
so y to the third, not 3y technically, but yeah.
This is
Now, that's going to be on the outside of the parentheses. Remember, we just did simplifying, which is distributing in, you multiply. So when you go in, you multiply. Since we're going out, we're doing the opposite, which is division. So what I'm technically doing
So 3.
is I'm dividing 7x to the 6, y to the third on both of these. 7x to the 6, y to the third. If I divide 21 by 7, I will have 3 left. If I x10 and then x6, you divide that, that's x to the 4th, because there's 4 x's over. Y third cancels out because it's completely 1.
I did it a different way.
Minus, if you get the same answer, I don't mind.
2x.
2 x's cancel out because x6, x6. Y5, y2, or y3 makes y2. Look at the inside of the parentheses. If there is nothing else you could do, you're done. In this case, there's nothing else I could do, so I'm done. If you could do more, that means you didn't take out enough in the beginning. That's okay. You just keep bringing it out.
Wait, where'd you get it for 2? What?
Ethan first because he had a hand up.
I'm a fast. When you say like simplify this or like kind of like how
The instruction will be, so literally half the test. There's one question, it just says simplify. On this section that we started, it'll say factor the polynomial completely.
Okay.
So it'll say factor. So we're in the factors.
Binomial.
A binomial is 2 terms. So this is you don't need to know the term binomial or nothing important about binomial.
Okay.
How do you get 2y though? It's 2x because 14 over 7 is 2x. Or is 2?
No, 14 over 7 is 2. That's its own thing. Now x6, x6.
It cancels out.
Good, so no x's. Now y5, y3.
Y2.
Okay, so what's wrong?
But when I multiply, if I multiply it out,
You foiled it. Okay,
so it's gonna be, okay, I see where it comes 21x to the 10.
good.
How did it become 14x? Again.
Because it's x6 times nothing, so it's x6 again.
No, but it's 7x times negative 2y. You can't do x and y together, can you?
You're multiplying, so yes, you can.
Wait, really?
Yes.
You multiply x and y together?
Well, they just be next to each other.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be x6, y5, which is back here. You can't do it when you're adding or subtracting, but you could when you're multiplying. All right, next one. X to the 4th plus 12x to the 3rd plus 20x to the 2nd. In this one, guys, stop talking again. Shh. For this one, before you start, always check if there's something common between everything here. So I could take out x to the 2nd or x squared.
2x squared.
No, this doesn't have a 2, so no.
So take it a 2.
No, this does not have a 2. These two have a 2, but this one does not.
How can it
All 3 have to have it.
How did he take one for that one?
Because this has an x squared, this has an x squared, and this has an x squared.
No, for the first part, he took out 7, but the
They
one-
both have 7.
Oh, because 2 is less than 3.
But didn't have a number in
Just add
one
up
of
the
them.
6
And
and
2
you
was
add
in the
up
4.
You look at the normal numbers only. 21 and 14, they both have 7.
But what about the y? Never mind.
The y's, you look at the y's individually.
Wait,
Okay, fine.
Mr. Tobel,
Yeah.
you put x is squared because well, x, the 2 can go into the 4 and north of the 3 and it should go into the 2.
Absolutely, yes. They go into all of them. The same way up here, when we had 21 and 14, we take out a 7 because 7 goes into 14 and 21.
And he lies x is 6, 5, and 10. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, what?
Why is it plus 12x?
I removed 2 x's from it, so there's an x left over. Plus just 20 because all the x's disappear. Next thing I'm going to do is factor this thing. You look at the parentheses. Are you done? Well, wait a second. I could possibly factor this. So things that multiply to 20, multiply to 20 that add to 12. So I'm going to rewrite this as x plus 5, or x plus...
Nobody's born in the like.
Guys, how many times? Hey, how many times do I have to tell you? Stop talking. So it's going to be x plus 10, x plus 2. Because I keep seeing what multiplies to 20, that's a 10. You check again. X plus 10, there's no way I can simplify that. X plus 2, I can't simplify that. You are factored completely. You are factored completely at that point. This is part of the way there. This
So
is
I have to
completely.
actually like factor that. I can.
If you could keep going. If I had x squared minus 4 here, I would keep going.
Wait, wow. What's the difference between doing that and then like doing the with the C and then define the C to B or something? Add the C multiplies to B.
I did do that.
I'm saying why don't you do that for the other one?
There was only 2 terms. I can't do that. There's no C.
So if there was a C, then you would do it.
If it's possible, yes. Anyone else? Any other questions on this before I move on?
But if it didn't go into it, you would let me do it.
If it didn't work, I couldn't do it. Then it can't be factored. All right, next one. X cubed minus 27.
Oh, if,
So this one is a very specific formula because it's the minus one. A minus B, A squared plus AB minus B squared, or plus B squared.
This is the sum. Take this off.
No. If it is different, so this is if it was, this is A cubed minus B cubed. If it's A cubed plus B cubed, the difference thing would be this will be a plus sign and this will be a minus sign. So I suggest you try to remember as one thing with just a negative and positive switch instead of thinking of it as 2 separate
Wait, what would we
equations.
switch it?
If there was a plus sign in the middle, this thing would become a plus sign and this thing would become a minus sign. That's the only difference.
So it's negative 27.
We're going to do the top part. So x is my A, and 3 is my B in this case, because the cube root of 27 is B, or 3. So x minus 3.
So, Mr. Joel, on the formula on top, is that a cube or squared on the left?
This a squared. So x squared plus 3 times x is just 3x plus 3 squared, which is 9. This part over here can never be more simplified, so you don't have to double check that. Double check this one. Can you simplify it more? Nah, you're done here. Your factors
Wait, how did you
complete.
get 9?
No,
Oh,
3 squared.
okay.
3 squared.
Wait, so you can't simplify the right side of it?
Never. If you could have took something out first, then do it afterwards, sure. But no. You guys never.
Well, you can see automatically it like adds a different square regardless. It's 3 plus x plus 3 squared. So like.
It's not obvious to everyone, man. So,
yeah.
but I understand. It's obvious to me at least. All right, I'm going to the next one. All right, last section of your test is factor and solve for x. So let's say x squared plus 12x equals 0. So in this case, we have x squared plus 12x equals 0. What can I do? Hey, they have an x in common, so I'm going to take out an x. At this point, wait a second, these are a multiplication situation. Things that multiply to 0, I can have either the left side be 0 or the right side be 0, which means I can split and solve for each part individually. This should feel familiar to the factoring solving. So I'm going to split the left side, set it equal to 0, and I'm going to split the right side and set it equal to 0.
Wait, why can we do this?
Because the rule is, if I know 2 things that multiply to 0, right? That must be one of the numbers is 0. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Okay, if that's true, if I make the left side 0, it will make the whole thing 0, so that's good. If I make the right thing 0, it'll make the whole thing 0, that's good. So that means that I can find them individually to figure out all the possible answers. So my answers are x equals 0 and x equals negative 12.
Why though?
Because those 2 numbers, if I were to plug it into the original, will fit in this equation, aka make it 0.
Will you tell us though?
Tell you, in the instructions it says solve for x.
Oh, so when that something adds up and split it in half, x always equals 0 when it's by itself.
Yeah, that's a quick way to think of it.
Cube root is.
A
How can you find out what the calculator?
Just do like 2 cubed, like 2 times 2 times 2. See, that's 8.
Will we
3
have
times
to-
like that 3. It won't be big enough that you need to go far.
Like, how do I find the first 64?
Go 64. No, sorry, clear it. Math, the button math, and then option 4 or 5 is like a cube root. It's a little 3 square root.
Yeah.
And then you just plug in whatever number you want. Okay. Let's do another one. 12 x to the fifth equals,
0.
let's do 30 x to the third.
Minus 30.
So to start off, you do need to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to minus 30x third to both sides. And I just chose the 30x because it's x to the third, so I figure it's the smaller of the two. So 12x to the fifth minus 30x to the third equals 0.
Are we splitting this or?
Before we split it, because they're not multiplication yet, like these are two subtraction problems,
Oh, do we have to, what's it called then?
factor out what's in common.
6.
So I could take out a 6
And an x to the third.
and an x to the third, which means left over 2x squared minus 5 equals 0.
Oh, then split it in half.
Now at this point, these are multiplications. Because they're multiplication, I can split this in half. Which means I can set 6x cubed equals 0 and 2x squared minus 5 equals 0.
Divide 6 on both sides.
This one I would divide 6 on both sides, but lucky for us,
Square it.
0 divided by anything is still 0.
0 outside.
And then x cubed, the cube root is 0, so what times itself 3 times give you 0? Should obviously be 0.
Wait, is it always 0 on that side?
Pretty much. If you get an x by itself with no plus or minus, it will be 0.
Mostly like the 6x third. By itself.
That's by itself. There's no plus or minus on that part. So yeah, I'll count that as one term or by itself. In this one, plus 5 on both sides. 2x squared equals 5. Divided by 2 on both sides. X squared equals 5 over 2. If you write 2.5, that's totally fine. And then I have to square root both sides. Now, does anyone remember what's important about square rooting on both sides?
Plus or minus?
Good.
Square rooting all comes at the end.
When you get x squared by itself. Only after you get x squared by itself, you can square root.
But exponents come first.
That's dealing with the exponent. We're
Reverse.
it's reversed because we're isolating. Isolation is reverse PEMDAS.
2x squared minus what? 300?
5 over 2. What's up?
What, it's a 2x squared minus what?
2x squared minus 5 equals 100. Or equals 0. I don't know why I said 100. So then I plus 5 on both sides. Then I divide it by 2 on both sides. I'm forced to square root to get rid of the square. So it's plus or minus the square root 5 over 2. Yeah.
Left on the left.
On the left, here in the red.
Yeah.
So it's, I'll put it here, 6x cubed equals 0. If I divide it by 6 on both sides, what happens? It's still 0. And if I cube root both sides, it's still 0. So x equals 0.
How do you cube root and calculate?
Math, and there's option 4 or 5. But also you could reason 0 has to be 0. Yeah.
So we can literally leave it like x equals plus minus 5.
I would like you to leave it like that, actually. That's more preferable. I don't want the decimal that
I would
nonsense.
usually have us like do
But in the calculator,
plus,
it was a
plus
decimal.
this and then minus with like 2 different answers usually. It's like that, plus minus.
If you leave it plus minus, I'll give it to you.
In the calculator, it doesn't be 5 over 2, so can we write the decimal?
No. Make it square root 5 over 2. So I know you did the algebra, not just let a calculator do it for you.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
On like the second bar next to the
Here,
sorry left.
here,
Yeah.
here.
Sorry.
No, here.
With the 3, where is that 3 come from? Is that a 5?
That's a 5 this whole time.
My bad.
5, 5, 5. All right, next one. One last one, probably. Let's do x to the third plus 14x plus 24 equals 0. Oops. Not finished yet. 14x squared plus 24x equals 0. For this one, before we do our what multiplies a c adds a b, we always check, is there something I could take out of common?
X.
An x. So this one I'm going to rewrite as x squared plus 14x plus 24 equals 0. Then, because now this looks like a nice factorable question, let's factor it. Things I multiply to 24 that adds to 12. Or adds to 14.
Stop, Cheryl. I saw that. I saw that.
12 is negative 2?
Cheryl, delete that.
12
That's
and
not
2.
fun.
Oh.
That's
X plus 12,
That's cyberbullying.
x plus 2 equals 0. Guys, can you cyberbully on your own time, please?
Look what you did.
Yeah, do it on your own time. So here we're going to split. Now these are all multiplications, so we can split them and solve them. So this is x equals 0. In this case, we'll have 3 answers, yeah. X plus 12 equals 0, and x plus 2 equals 0. So 0.
All 3 of them?
Yes, because any of them being 0 causes the whole thing to be 0. And this one, because it's x plus 2 equals 0 and stuff, you could do those quickly. Negative 2, negative 12, 0. Yeah.
I'm on guard.
Wait, don't skip it. I'm just. Are we done?
Yeah, we're done. I'll end the video. I'll keep it up here though.